Gorgeous George, and goes with one of the best coaches in the sport of mixed martial arts, Ray Longo. Hello, Ray. How you doing?
Guys, it's great to be talking to you.
We have
I
nothing
feel like
else to do, right?
I'm in jail right now, George.
How's that feel, right? To kind of like basically put you in a spot where you can't move and do what you've loved for the last 30, 40 years?
Well, I think you keyed in on something because it's the last 30 or 40 years. I'm using it as a little bit of a break. I let my body heal a little bit, and I'm still in contact with everybody. We've done some FaceTime workouts and stuff like that. But it's look, it's an adjustment. But I had a lot of stuff that I had to catch up on doing that I wasn't doing, and it's allowing me the time to catch up. So I'm trying to make a positive out of a negative.
Give me an example, if you don't mind me sharing. Like, what were you wanting to do? Was it stuff around the house, or paperwork?
Exactly. Just organizing for the first part, and I'm still working out every day. Luckily, I have a full weight set, and I have, stuff to hit and all that type of stuff. So I just had to switch up a couple of things, but the loss of the interaction with everybody is pretty crazy.
I want to talk about a little bit. You said you were doing some FaceTime workouts, and I know a lot of fighters have been working out on their own. Do you anticipate a week or two when all this comes back to normal, where fighters just have this sort of rust, almost like the preseason in NFL or something, a period that they have to work through to get right back to where they were, or are the blades just as sharp as they were when you left them?
For most guys, I think they're going to be all right. I think everybody's doing their best to work out. I know, like even with Quinter, he's got another guy staying at his house. So we've done a couple of workouts where they could drill together, and it's all stuff that they know, but we just put together a workout, and I've done stuff with Chris. He's kind of isolated, so we do more like a bag workout. So I think it's going to be time for these guys to maybe tune up on some stuff and to get the repetitions in that they need on, some basic stuff, which is always good to go back to.
We see the PFL has a season format. And right now, I just compared, a little bit to NFL and their preseason. But with us almost having like this month off, would you ever be open to MMA in general or the UFC having sort of a season, even if it means it's just 1 month, but everybody has it off? Because it seems like mentally it's doing you a little well, right? And physically, and maybe it could do the same for the fighters.
Well, those guys, they spread their fights out. You know what I mean? So some guys fight 3 times a year, some guys fight 2 times a year, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. But, it's such a habit now that, even though, like, again, the break, I'm making the best of the break. It was a forced relaxation, you could say. So, but look, guys, I was really enjoying. We were on I have a lot of up and coming guys. I think we were like 17-0 coming out of the new year. So we were doing great, and the team was on a roll, and I don't know, everything was enjoyable. This thing is, look, it's a lesson that on the drop of a dime, everything could change.
Right. All right. So I wanted to ask you about a couple of the big guns individually. With Weidman, he's still, I guess hell, UFC 249 hasn't officially been canceled. So he's still in camp mode, right?
He's trying. Yeah, definitely. He's trying, but he's got to do it at his house. And I really wish the UFC would have just come out and canceled a couple of shows, because, I don't like to see these guys go in compromised. You know what I mean? They're definitely not getting anywhere near a normal training camp. And I even have Matt Frivola thinks he's fighting on April 26th, which I just don't see as a possibility. But
should I have said Steamroller when you said his name? Because I noticed that happens a lot.
What happened?
Should I have yelled out Steamroller when you mentioned
Steamroller?
Happens a lot.
Well, yellow bulldozer. Give his father a little credit. He's the steamroller. His father's the bulldozer.
I like that.
Right. But so he still thinks he's fighting, and I do let him into the gym, which I probably shouldn't be doing, but it's just him and another guy to go in, they get their sparring. But it puts everybody in an awkward position, because I really don't want to do it, but then again, I want to see the kid get his work in, And it just kind of sucks, man. For if you're from New York, I don't know how anybody else is dealing with it.
Right, you guys.
But I got to tell you, New York is a shit show, and we're starting to hear, it's like 6 degrees of separation. So now we're like 2 degrees away from people we know that are dying, and they're just the people that are losing their, they're saying goodbye on a walkie-talkie outside the hospital. It's kind of horrible, you know what I mean? So the stories are starting to pour in. I think the other day we lost 1,000 people in New York, and they say we're not even close to the peak yet. So over here, it's it's hard to focus on something that's more of an enjoyment to you. But this is real life. It's not a joke, and it's hard to get past all of that. You know what I mean? And my point to Matt Frivola was, look, man, I don't know if I think you should chill because you still live with your father. He's like my age, and you could get that guy in a lot of trouble if things go south. So everybody's put in a weird position. I really wish they would just hold, hey, you're not fighting for a couple of weeks. At least the guys from New York, guys, chill out. I know what you're going through. We'll get your fights right, in June or July, but right now chill out, because it's hard to, abide by what everybody's telling us to do, which is stay in the house when guys still think they're fighting and they're trying to get camps in.
I'm glad we tackled this, and we're having the interview because think about everything you just connected with us. We asked about Weidman and we started talking about Frivola, and you mentioned Frivola's old man, and then the 2 degrees from the 6 to 7 degrees of separation. And the fact that the UFC, maybe if they could shed a little bit of light, how all that connects, because a simple tweet or just a simple comment here and there, I mean, you explained it very thoroughly. I think fans and MMA media are really going to understand the gravity of it all, because I definitely tune in to what's happening in New York. We have a first cousin who's a ER doctor in Brooklyn. So we're concerned about him,
Exactly.
And then, of course, Governor Cuomo will mention Westchester, and I think, are you guys Suffolk? Or I don't know.
No, we're Nassau. We're Nassau, right next to
Suffolk. That's right. And so he'll mention everything else, and right away, our minds are just programmed to think about MMA. So, yeah, of course, we're thinking about you guys when it comes to that.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I think, when there's decisions being made, I don't think they're going that far down the line. It seems like, immediate gratification. But, like, again, the ramifications for a lot of people here are pretty serious at this point.
Yeah. And I wanted to clear up one other thing here. With Weidman, this is via webcam? He's hitting the bag in front of you? Or you go to him and just have social distancing and watch?
No, that's via webcam.
Oh, wow.
No, because he, like, again, George, think of it like he's got young kids.
Yeah.
And God forbid I come over with something, because I had my wife and my daughter both work for the Board of Ed, so they were, my daughter was taking the training pretty late, so I wasn't really sure what was going on, and my other daughter had to go back out to do something for her thing. She's out in Stony Brook. So, it's hard to keep everybody. I don't even trust myself, is what I'm saying. So I would hate, the last thing in the world I would want to do is, if I had something, pass it on to somebody that couldn't deal with it properly. That would not be a cool thing for me. I would regret that more than anything in the world. So that's where, you have to do it by FaceTime. If I had to go over, I would go over, but I'm not going to be holding pads for them.
Coach, in a situation like this, if somebody did have to fight, who do you think it benefits more? A veteran who has kind of been through ups and downs in their career and seen a lot of things, or a young up-and-comer who maybe is a little bit more healthy, more miles on the body, but may not be able to handle stress of this type of situation? Do you think what the situation benefits one more than the other?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, look, I had this conversation with Chris. I go, look, and this is basically with everybody. All the guys that have been around, they know how to fight. They're great teachers when they're teaching the younger guys and passing on their knowledge. So they know how to fight. So it's really just a question of getting in shape. And then, obviously the timing and stuff, you'd have to, it's not like they haven't fought in 5 years. A lot of guys fought a couple of months ago. So I think the experienced guys have the advantage there. they'll know how to control the pace of the fight a little more and be able to deal with the adversity they've been going through in the camp, I believe. But we'll find out if these guys start fighting.
I'm gonna do a little outside the box thinking here. The NFL draft is upon us. Let's just say MMA had a draft right now where you could bring anybody into your camp that you've always wanted to work with, a number one draft pick. Who would that fighter be?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me which one of my guys would be drafted. I got a lot of young guys that are really good. I'll tell you, it's funny. I just started working with this kid, Aviv Gonzalez from Bellator. So he's really talented with the jiu-jitsu, and I only worked with him a couple of times, and then this thing hit. So I bring him in because he was already kind of there, but I think he's a 19 or 20-year-old kid who's got a great future, and it's a shame that I haven't even talked. I actually got to call him after this because I think he texted me last, or we even on for this week, but it was right in the week they were shutting everything down. So I go with Aviv Gonzalez. Looks like a bright prospect with a great future and great skills.
Now we're going to pretend like in May this thing is, we flatten the curve. I'm sure you've heard that term.
Yep.
And we all start to get back to normalcy. There's a fight out there that kind of involves one of your biggest guns, and that's Aljamain Sterling. So I'm talking about Cejudo versus Aldo. It's set. I mean, it's going to happen. I disagree with it, but there seems to be a 2-horse race between Sterling and Jan. Actually, one of those two should have fought Aldo, and I've been very clear and open about the fact that I just felt like Sterling was ahead of Jan. Jan's made up some ground. Don't get me wrong. He's had some fights, some great results, but I felt like Sterling was leading in the charge. But regardless, tell me what you think about this. As far as your guy, why do you think he should be next? Because a lot of people are really hopping on the Jan bandwagon.
Look, I don't know but I don't know what they're looking at, but I think Aljo's really had the better victories, and he's been, his momentum was on Aljo's side. He beat Rivera and he beat Munoz I believe that was the last 2 times out. So, I love Uriah Faber, but come on, it was a comeback and he was older at the time. And I don't know. I think that would be my case for Aljo. I just think he was on a good roll. He's won his last bunch of fights, and hey, Pat, look, Jan's a great fighter too, so it's all good. Aljo wanted to fight him. That was the fight, and I thought that fight was going down, and then I guess they made Morales, and it left him in Sandhagen, and then kind of this whole thing happened, and I was really proud of Aljo's tweet. I can't even get in my own gym. I'm not going to accept a fight right now. Yeah. So I think he held his ground. So I was really happy about that, because I think a lot of these guys should have said, dude, I just can't fight, man. This is crazy. So, but I think Aljo just had the better resume. That's what I would base it on. I think he merited that fight more than Jan. And I'm going to say, just based on the competition and as big as a name, and as much as I love Uriah Faber, I don't think that was a name at this given point in time that should have got him that fight.
Mm-hmm. What's funny is I saw Aljamain Sterling during UFC 248 fight week, and he was telling us about things can start off slow with Davishvili when they're training, but Davishvili 0 to 120. That guy's pretty special. I think the last time he fought, I tweeted something like, he could probably fight on the tip of Mount Everest and go a whole 5-round fight. I mean, he's got endless cardio.
No, crazy. I can't believe Aljo said it starts out slow. I never saw that in my life. It starts off insane and it ends insane. Mm-hmm. That's the way it goes with Davishvili. But look, you can't find a better person than Merab. He is really becoming the heart and soul of that gym. He's just a great guy, team player, willing to help everybody. And it's such a pleasure to have that kid in the gym. I said it in a shitload of interviews, and I'll say it again. He's made me a better person, and I've learned a lot about him. I think just based on where he's come from and his outlook on life, and even situations like this, you're not going to get a better guy to talk to. He's a pleasure. He's a great kid, and I'm glad he's doing well, because it proves that good things happen to good people. And yeah, he's him and Aljo together are perfect. They're really great for each other. They really have helped each other grow. He's been great. Marab has learned, like his wrestling has gotten so much better, and Aljo cannot, you just can't take a break with that guy. So cardio wise, he's got a guy that could push him consistently. Yeah, he just doesn't stop. I'm telling you, even when he fought Frankie Saenz, and again, Frankie Saenz, another great kid, I'm not taking nothing away from him. It was just a really nice guy. But I mean, the guy had the flu. I mean, he was, if anybody was ever compromised, I don't even know how he made it through that fight. And I think he set a takedown record.
Oh, did not know that.
Without a doubt.
2 more questions. Our guest here, Ray Longo, of course, the not only a coach in mixed martial arts, a gym owner. I'm rocking the shirt here. Longo MMA. Him along with Chris Weidman.
George, we got to send you out more stuff, George. It looks great on you.
Oh, thank you. Actually, one of our listeners, Steve Carroll, right, gave us these as gifts. He goes part of your gym, so shout out to him. But yeah, Coach, how's this affected business? Is this stressing you out, or did you have a good reaction from, everybody that goes to the gym and takes classes there? I'm sure they did, right?
No, it's a great reaction, but it's a stressful time for any small business owner. Trust me, it's just very, very stressful. And, we're just looking for it to end as quick as possible without putting anybody in danger. But the longer this goes on, I'll be honest with you, man, I don't know how anybody's coming out of this. The future, it's a day by day basis. We don't really know. But right now, I talk to Chris every day, obviously, but we're hanging tough. But we'll, if everybody, if the landlords and all the other people, play ball fairly, and everybody's, has a little compassion about what's going on, I think we'll all get through it. But we'll see what happens. But it's definitely been stressful because, man, it's hard to explain, man. Again, you're used to a certain way of life, and that over here it was just go, 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 go. And once that was taken away, man, it's weird. Yeah, I mean, I've adjusted to it. I think I have to be in for about 2 weeks now. This is, crazy.
Mm-hmm. And Coach, just to clarify, what I meant about reaction was insisting you keep it open, right? Because there's a lot of naysayers out there, hoax, flu, that type of reaction.
No, we think that the people, again, I mean, New York's getting hit pretty hard. So the naysayers, again, unless you're in a bubble somewhere, you're taking it pretty serious, and I didn't really, we just shut it down. I mean, I did an interview. Mark Raimondi called me probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He goes, "Why'd you close the gym down?" I think we were the first gym to be proactive and take it serious and say, but probably about 3 or 4 days ahead of everybody else. We just didn't want to take any chances because the last thing you wanted was somebody actually getting it in the gym. And we do have a lot of older people that train there. There's guys in their 60s. There's a bunch of them. And, from 50 plus a shitload of guys. And, you had to take everything into consideration. So, no, we got a good reaction. Nobody, nobody really complained. So I'm going to say it was great.
All right, last question, Coach. When this is all over, aside from tending to business or whatever, what's the first thing you want to do other than visit that barber? Is there a certain meal or an outing with the family? What's the first thing you want to do when you can get out here?
Hey, George, it's a great question. I don't know. I might be suffering PTSD by the end of this. I don't know who the hell's going out. I don't know if I'm going to, unless they come out with a vaccination, I might not see a restaurant for a while. So it all depends on how it plays out. But, my thing was I loved the gym. I was working out every day. I love training the guys, and that's what I miss. And that's, what I'd love to get back to as soon as possible. And I just hope it's in the cards because, the thing I try to do now is like 1 hour of TV just to hear what they have to say. Because it's getting, you start hearing the numbers, and then I'm getting texts all day long from, this guy, he's on life support, and this guy's father just died. It's tough, man. And you're sitting there, you can't say anything. Like I had my partner in the promotions, Lou Neglia, lost his nephew, and this is right at the start, and the family was devastated. I know the kid. He was like 39, not from the coronavirus. They just, he unfortunately passed away, and you couldn't have a funeral for him. First he sent me the info on the funeral in Brooklyn, the arrangements, and then he called back the next day and said they just canceled the funeral. So it's a rough time for everybody. So I just want to get back to normal where everything is positive. I'm back in the gym, and just the way things were would be. I was having a great time. So if I can get back to that, I don't know if it'll ever go back to normal. Like I think Como said, it'll go back to the new normal, and whatever that entails, we'll take it from there.
Coach, thanks for the time today. We really appreciate it. It's great catching up with you, and our best to you, your family, your friends, the state of New York, man. It really is devastating what's happening. But we're going to try and stay positive and come out of this and get back to our normal life soon.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I really appreciate it, man. It was great talking to you because, again, I feel like I'm in jail. I just might go walk around my backyard like I'm in the jailhouse fenced in, out in the back. But great catching up with you guys, and stay safe and stay healthy, man. It's no joke.